Today's podcast is brought to you by Chikara Wrestle Factory, 4711 Wingate Street, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where they specialize in lucha libre, Porosu, European, British, and German styles, mixed martial arts, and American pro wrestling, all built into the curriculum at the Wrestle Factory, where they strive to create the most well-rounded performers active today. Hey, yo. Pro Wrestling Podcast listeners, help us out and click subscribe to show your support, and to make it a little bit more interesting, we're shooting for our first 100 subscribers on YouTube, so we'll be giving random shout-outs to the newest subscribers as we try to reach that goal. Hello everyone, and welcome to this episode 65 of the Pro Wrestling Podcast. We got all sorts of tidbits from the world of professional wrestling. We're going to get to them right away, starting with Mario Ranallo. Mario has been gone since mid-March. He's been having issues dealing with bipolar disorder and depression that have plagued him his entire broadcasting career. Fortunately for him, he seems to be doing much better, but unfortunately for his career in World Wrestling Entertainment, it looks as though they're going to keep him off television for the duration of his contract, which runs out in August, and then he'll be a free agent. It looks like WWE is not willing to invest more time in someone who they don't feel they can count on to be there week in and week out. On the flip side, as many people know, after WrestleMania, it was announced that Jim Ross had signed a new 2-year contract with World Wrestling Entertainment, not necessarily to be a weekly play-by-play announcer, but he's going to fill some of the important roles in some of the specialized projects that Mario Ranallo was expected to be a part of. So, going forward, Jim Ross actually has a contract with New Japan Pro Wrestling that runs through 2018, but at the conclusion of that contract, the interesting contrast between these two stories is that Ranallo, who used to be the play-by-play man for New Japan, may actually have an avenue to go back there, as Jim Ross will more than likely be brought into a more, I don't want to say a full-time, but a more permanent role with World Wrestling Entertainment as soon as his New Japan deal runs out. In the meantime, in 2017, Ranallo has many other things planned. He's going back to hopefully calling mixed martial arts. He's got some boxing that he's doing, other projects. So congratulations to him for getting things back together and really getting back on his feet. It's always great to see him doing that. And for Jim Ross, it's always awesome to see old JR come back to WWE and be brought back into the fold, where he was so instrumental in a lot of their successes in the early to mid 1990s. Johnny Mundo is the next part of our discussion today. He has claimed online that, in reference to the story that we broke a couple days ago about JBL potentially being a bully in the back to people like Justin Roberts and to Mario Ranallo, Johnny Mundo actually is substantiating the claim made by Justin Roberts that over in the European tour the World Wrestling Entertainment was doing, that JBL was the one who actually told him to steal Justin Roberts' passport, furthering the suspicions that JBL really is portraying this bully personality behind the scenes and actually causing some serious strife for some of the talent. You would think somebody in the position that JBL is in would get it together and just be a positive force for the brand going forward instead of causing all these issues. But at the end of the day, it sounds like, there's too many talents complaining about JBL's backstage demeanor for us to just simply dismiss this as some simple jest and having fun. This looks like it's a little more serious than that. JBL, at some point, you would expect, and maybe not, but I would hope WWE would address this with him and make sure that this is handled going forward. You do not want to continue to lose talents because of the relationship they have with an on-screen announcer, someone who's not active in the ring, someone who's not a big part of your program. I know he's beloved by some of the fans, but at the end of the day, he has to be a positive role model and positive force for the WWE brand, and right now that is not the case. In Young Bucks news, the Young Bucks last night called out an open challenge to anybody who wanted to come out and challenge them for the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championship, and the challenge was answered by the Spirit Squad. The Spirit Squad, after leaving World Wrestling Entertainment, after getting that short return back in November into December, they looked great on TV. I thought they had a lot to offer. WWE chose not to move forward with them, and they actually let their contracts expire. It was like a per-appearance situation. They moved them over to the alumni section of their webpage, and now they're taking independent bookings, and this was a really cool opportunity to see the Spirit Squad go in and face the Young Bucks. Now, they came up short. They were not able to wrestle the championships away from the Young Bucks, but it's a match I don't think anyone would have expected to see, and it's one where it gave Kenny and Mikey an opportunity to really showcase their talents that they have in another avenue. Alberto El Patron claims that he knows who released Paige's sensitive information. He has a strong suspicion that it's somebody within World Wrestling Entertainment, and it's obvious that he's targeting them with his ire and his frustrations. And at some point, I would expect legal action to be taken on the part of Alberto El Patron and Paige as they look to rectify this situation. I don't know that you could ever make things the way they were prior to her sensitive information being leaked. However, I think that she could get some restitution if they're able to prove what he is claiming in these interviews. And finally, Kurt Angle. It has been published by multiple sites this week that Kurt Angle will indeed wrestle at some point in World Wrestling Entertainment, despite the fact that he took the on-air role as the Raw general manager. They are expecting him to be able to wrestle at some point, provided he can pass WWE's stringent physical policy. They are very specific about who they allow to get in the ring, with all the concussion protocol lawsuits that have been going on, and wrestlers who are seeking support and aid for prior injuries based on their careers in World Wrestling Entertainment. They are very, very particular about who they will let get in the ring. Kurt Angle has been wrestling all over the world in the last year for multiple promotions. He clearly can still go in the ring and do his thing. But WWE wants to make sure that they're not going to be held liable for anything that could potentially go wrong with him should he not be able to pass a physical. So it is WWE being very sensitive to the importance of wrestler safety. I think that's a positive thing going forward. It's something that should have been done all along. I'm just glad that we finally got to the stage where that's something that is heavily under consideration. We're going to get into our fantasy booking time for this episode. We are now starting round number 2. So you guys cleared out the first round. 64 previous world champions are eliminated. We have 64 remaining. We have them bracketed out into 32 matches in the second round. You're going to get the first 4 today. The first match of round 2, Booker T, former five-time WCW World Champion, and he was World Heavyweight Champion in WWE, versus former ECW Champion Raven. The Nature Boy, Ric Flair, 16-time World Champion, versus one of the most classic figures from wrestling history, the original Nature Boy Buddy Rogers. In match 3, Chris Jericho, as you know, multiple-time world champion, versus former TNA and various other independent promotion world champion Drew Galloway. And finally, for this first block, one of the dream matches wrestling fans have talked about for so long, one that we unfortunately will never get the opportunity to see, the Macho Man, Randy Savage, versus The Rock. In the YouTube comment section, put your choices for who would win each one of those fantasy booked matches. We will tabulate the results. If you happen to put your choices into one of the other servers that we use, that's fine. We'll combine all the results, get your winners moved on to the next round, and we'll see who wins this 128-man former world champion fantasy booked tournament. That's all the time we have for this episode. Check back with us in episode 66. We're going to run down all the happenings in the world of professional wrestling. Special thanks as always go out to bensound.com and purpleplanet.com for producing all our music and sound effects used throughout today's show. Today's podcast was sponsored in part by Beazle Games. Bringing a new friend to family game night is easy with Sketchy People. Showcase your artistic side in this new game from Beazle Games by going to www.thegamecrafter.com/sketchypeople to pick up your copy today. And to AlleyRepair.com. Contact Alley Repair today for servicing of all your classic skee-ball, pinball, and arcade game needs. We want to thank you for listening to today's podcast. We encourage you to go to our website at www.frolifeplanning.com to learn more about what Mr. Fro can do for you on your path to higher education. Remember, Fro Life Educational Planning is for today, for tomorrow, and for life with Fro Life. I'm Fred Froelich, better known as Mr. Fro, and I want to thank you for taking a few moments with us today. And if you're looking for more wrestling news and rumors, go to www.tsjsports.com/WWE for my latest articles on the world of professional wrestling. Until next time, take care, everybody. Have a great night.